intrinsically born unfair. The fundamental sports, they are unfair. No, thank you. Now, some sports players are better. Some sports are stronger. They play higher and they are more agile than other players.
On that point matter.
Yes, sir.
Are you saying that the natural abilities is what matters in sports and skills? The skills of the athletes do not matter in sports?
Thank you for pointing that out, sir. Well, what the government is trying to say that the natural abilities actually affect the skills. Without natural abilities, how will the players play? Isn't that obvious, ladies and gentlemen? So what the government is trying to say that sports are fundamentally unfair and that they do not get the first argument presented by the leader of the opposition. Now, the deputy leader of the opposition today came here and explained to us that kids are inspired by sports players, and also that allowing these drugs will decrease the fairness of the sports and thus will decrease the attention focused on sports industry. Well, the government here again sees no point in this argument. First, we say that more people will actually pay attention to sports industry. Why? Hasn't the deputy leader of the opposition said that children are intrigued by the sports players? Well, allowing these performance-enhancing drugs will undoubtedly produce players who will play higher, stronger, better, and higher, stronger, and better. Now, this will undoubtedly be intriguing more children to watch, more children to be intrigued by the sports players, and in conclusion, more attention will actually be spent spent on the sports industry. Then the member of the opposition today came up here and introduced a counter policy that we should allow only some drugs. Now, the Prime Minister today here came up here and explained to you why the current regulations we have are ambiguous and how that is the reason why we should introduce this new policy. And then into the summary. The Prime Minister today here has come up here and explained to you the inefficiency of the current regulations, how that there is a need for clear law, and how that is the reason why we should have this motion passed, that we should allow all performance-enhancing drugs. The Deputy Prime Minister here today has come up there and talked about the morals, how that people should be able to choose what they intake and what they should not intake, and that it is the government's duty to ensure that all people have the freedom to choose. Then our excellent third speaker came up here and mentioned about happiness and equality. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as the government, we say that to ensure the happiness and equality of its people is the most fundamental role of the government. And she also gave the example of horses. Why do horses have handicaps, ladies and gentlemen? To ensure that they can compete on an equal basis. Now what the government is proposing today, is that we should expand this idea to humans, to sports players as well. Now today, ladies and gentlemen, the opposition has definitely failed. The government today, however, ladies and gentlemen, has proved you logically how and why this House would allow the use of performance enhancement drugs in sports. Therefore, we, the government, say that we have won the debate today. Thank you.
Sports is the level playing ground. It should be a fair competition. We have been educated from childhood that drugs are illegal. Now, the government would allow the use of certain drugs for sports. Ladies and gentlemen, this House strongly and in an assertive manner go against this motion on allowing the use of performance enhancement drugs in sports. I would like to rebut to some of the points made from the proposition side. And I would first like to mention the doping test that is held every competition. Well, the Sports Association is strengthening the doping test in order to find the athletes who have used those drugs that are illegal. And since they are strengthening these tests, the government is taking care of more of these drugs. And now the proposition side is saying that yes.
That is exactly why I mentioned about the reason about the inefficiency of the tests that are in the status quo.
Well, it is not inefficient. It is improving. And how can you say that it is inefficient when the doping and when the athletes are getting caught from the doping test? And second, I would like to mention something about the surgery issue. Well, is the proposition team aware that if you have done any type of surgery, even a facial surgery, they need to have the break periods for whatever time the sports association said so? If you are aware of the fencing athlete Namhyuni, she had to have a break for about few months and got out of the Olympic medalist because she did the surgery. So this is not because of well, the surgeries are very different from the drugs, and also they are getting punished as well. So the proposition, yes.
The example of surgery that the opening government mentioned was legal in the status quo.
So yeah, of course the surgery is legal. The surgery itself is legal, but the thing is, this makes it different from other athletes. So in order to make it fair, they are making the break periods, and that is there for the fairness. And I would also like to say that should the government try not to make the laws unbroken, because laws are there to be broken. The government is saying that we should legalize the drugs because we can't stop them when they are illegal. I don't think that is what the government side should be taking their position of. And now I would like to move on to my clashes. No, thank you. Our first clash was about fairness. Well, the proposition side is saying that it is fundamentally unfair because some athletes are born to do well and some athletes are not. But none of the people people are making it unfair. The conditions are becoming unfair because of all the atmosphere and all the pressures that are given by other people. So, no, thank you. So this is why it is unfair. The original sport itself is fair. And also, our second clash was that the education of children. Well, children are intrigued and they already know that drugs were illegal. So after now, when they all know that drugs are illegal, you're going to stop them, the children will have confusion. So what is right? Using the illegal drugs on the competition, now that the fact that it is now illegal, I do not think so. And I would like to go on to explain how our team has won this debate. The opening government said that, went on saying about that sports is fun, to watch, inspiring. And also, the second reason was that for the economic issues, well, if you give attention to the players, then some of the companies can earn money. But then how can we give attention to the players when the players are using drugs to win the competition? This is not the right way for the competition. It's supposed to be human versus human, not the drugs versus drugs. And now, the proposition side has also mentioned that drugs will be made by certain companies, but then those certain companies will have competition as well to make better drugs for their athletes to compete better. And what the second opposition side has mentioned was the distortion of purpose. Well, now the fact that it's not a human versus human achievement, which was the sports' original purpose after it gets legal, this becomes irrelevant to the topic because that is not the right thing for sports. And also, we have also mentioned that for the educational crisis, well, the children will get those information clear. And that is why we think that the opposition team has won this debate.